Some breaking news on day 2 of NFL free agency as the Philadelphia Eagles have agreed to terms with former Seahawks running back in Rashaad Penny. We're going to talk about that on today's show. It's the first external signing for the Eagles so far in the early going of free agency. Before we get started, though, want to hear from you down in the comments section. I hope that Howie Roseman is not planning for Rashaad Penny to be the Miles Sanders replacement because he's been way too injured over his entire 5-year career. So with that, do you like the move? Let me know down in the comment section, L for like or D for dislike. Today's Eagles breaking news video is sponsored by RexMD. Head to rexmd.com/chat and see for yourself that RexMD is #1 in men's telehealth. More from RexMD. Same treatments, free consultation, faster delivery, and you can rely on them to serve you. Why? Because, fellas, do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? Many people have had those nights where, people get too nervous or maybe had too much to drink. There's nothing worse than not being able to put the stick shift in drive when you need it the most. But have no fear. RexMD is here, spreading cheer even when you have a few too many beers. RexMD is FDA approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. They have sponsored today's Philadelphia Eagles now to help you, the Bird Gang, always be prepared. RexMD has made it simple, easy, and cost-effective to help all the men out there last longer and feel more confident in the bedroom. RexMD makes getting generic and branded Viagra or Cialis easier, and everything's online, even the prescription, and they deliver it discreetly to your door. No waiting rooms, no embarrassing trips to the doctor, no insurance, and no copays. So take advantage of their best deal that they've ever offered and save up to 90% off and pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link, rexmd.com/chat for this limited time deal. Starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis are now available for our listeners and our viewers to get started. That's rexmd.com/chat for up to 90% off. So the Eagles signing Rashaad Penny to a contract here in free agency, and it was Ian Rappaport who broke the news here on Tuesday afternoon. We're not sure what the contract details are as of right now. We just know that the Eagles and Penny have agreed to this contract. Now, when I saw the news, a couple of things flashed in my brain. What does this mean for this football team in 2023? Is Rashaad Penny the Miles Sanders replacement? Because he's nowhere near as good as Miles Sanders, and he's been injured a lot more than Miles Sanders. I'm not sure what the price tag difference is going to be between Rashaad Penny and Miles Sanders, but it's not just Sanders who is set to be a free agent. Kenny Gainwell is probably going to be the #1 back, with Sanders maybe testing out the free agency market, but Boston Scott also joining him as a free agent as well. It's been a fascinating career for Rashaad Penny, a former first-round pick out of San Diego State, and when he's been on the field, he's been highly productive. You look at the yards per carry over his last 4 years, been in the league for 5, and it's really, really good. In 2019, 5.7 yards per carry. In 2020, 3.1. But then in 2021, it goes back up to 6.3. And in 2022, 6.1 average yards per carry. The big concern with Penny, and why I hope Howie Roseman isn't planning on him to be RB1, he has missed so many games throughout his career. But again, when he's been on the field, you can see yards per carry, total yards upon the carries, very, very good. Now, we're only getting started on today's show, but first, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now, and we are your go-to spot for the best Eagles offseason coverage. We need 47 more people to get us to 42,400 subscribers. Let's get to that mark, but then crush it and surpass it. When breaking news happens, we go live. We go deeper with our analysis compared to any other Eagles YouTube channel out there. We will not disappoint you. Going back to the injury issues for Rashaad Penny, you look at the tallies here. In 2018 as a rookie, only missed 2 games coming out of San Diego State. But in 2019, 6 games missed. In 2020, a lot of them, 13. 2021, 7 games missed. And in 2022, he missed 12 games. But, again, When this guy is able to stay upright, as he's dealt with really a plethora of injuries throughout his career, all types of nicks and bruises, the yards per carry numbers are very solid. As a rookie, this is why Seattle really liked him, because he just has a knack for picking up yards, picking up tough yards. He's also a really physical back, and that playing style has led to him getting injured a bit. As a rookie, though, nearly 5 yards per carry. Sophomore campaign, almost 6. In 2020, barely played. So you can throw that out the window. 2021, 6.3 yards per carry. And in 2022, 6.1 yards per carry. Are the Eagles here hoping that by signing Rashaad Penny, he's finally going to be able to stay healthy? And in turn, they get good bang for their buck with this acquisition. You're running into a risk, of course. But if you're paying him pennies, and this running back with pedigree, as a first-round pick in 2018 out of San Diego State, ends up producing for you, then it can reap dividends for this Eagles offense. Because while he was in Seattle playing alongside Russell Wilson, they were running some RPO. They were running some similar elements to what the Eagles do like to run with their own quarterback in Jalen Hurts. So he's a good scheme fit, and we know that heading into next year, the Eagles are still going to have one of, if not the best offensive lines in football. So you match that up with the guy who is really good at carrying the football. He just needs to stay healthy. But there's that saying out there, guys who are injured are always injured. You can't make the club from the tub, and your best ability is your availability. And for Rashaad Penny, has not been available enough. So with that, let's transition to this poll question. Get those red pens out. Grade the signing of Rashaad Penny. A, B, C, D, or F. Sound off and share your thoughts with us. As for Miles Sanders, no real buzz behind where he might go in NFL free agency, and there hasn't been a lot of traction behind him potentially reuniting with the Philadelphia Eagles. He has said he wants to come back, that he wants to re-sign with the Eagles, but this is an organization that has kind of devalued running backs in this Howie Roseman regime. They don't often pay running backs a second contract, and they don't pay a lot of big money to running backs either. For Sanders, the former second-round pick, had a career year this past year, and it came at a really critical moment for him as he was entering his contract year. For the first time in his career, he ran for more than 1,000 yards. The final tallies, nearly 1,300 of them. Average yards per carry for Sanders, 4.9. He had a career-high 11 touchdowns. He was a top 5 all-around back in the National Football League on 259 carries, and that production really, really impressive considering the Eagles aired it out a lot this past year, and they could have run Miles Sanders even more. Heading into 2023, a lot of question marks in this running back room. Sanders, free agent. Boston Scott, a free agent. I'd like to see the Eagles bring back Scott as the giant killer that he is, a good short yardage back, and a guy who's the ultimate glue guy who can also fill in on special teams, and I think he's a perfect RB3. With how Kenny Gainwell played in the postseason, there has been some chatter about him being the number 1 running back for this team heading into next year. And you're not paying him a lot of money because you drafted him somewhat late a couple of years ago out of Memphis. So is Howie Roseman thinking, all right, we're a little bit tight on the cap. We don't often extend, give second contracts, or pay premium dollars to running backs. We're going to move forward with Kenny Gainwell. We're going to bring in Rashaad Penny and hope that he stays healthy. Maybe we draft a running back. You could bring back Boston Scott as well, and you devote little financial resources to a position that you think is already going to have a lot of success because of how this offensive scheme is set up, how Brian Johnson is going to call the plays, some deception and misdeception with Jalen Hurts back there, but also you have the best offensive line in the game. Before we continue to move forward, make sure you give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. Really trying to go their Instagram throughout NFL free agency. Anytime the Eagles have made a big move, I've taken my thoughts over to Instagram as well as here on the show. Appreciate all of y'all for giving me a follow. Now let's take a look at the Eagles free agency tracker. Some of the moves that they've made so far. So they retained Brandon Graham on a 1-year, $6 million deal. I think that's excellent value for a guy who had 11 sacks last year. Jason Kelce is back. We covered that yesterday, right when the news was made official, on a 1-year, $14.25 million contract. That continues to keep him as the highest paid center in the NFL. After releasing Brett Toth last week, He is back, and now they bring in Rashaad Penny. Not sure what the contract details are. For Jason Kelce, you're paying him as the highest paid center in the NFL. You're paying him as the best center in the NFL. And even though he's entering year 13, he continues to be the most dominant center in football. And now, with him coming back another year and playing center, you're probably going to move Cam Jurgens to right guard. You're going to allow Isaac Seumalo to get paid in free agency, which he certainly deserves. And you'll have one of those young draftees from last year's draft class along that offensive line to fill in for cheap. For Brandon Graham, legendary Eagle, like Jason Kelce, both of them pillars of this organization for a really long time. It's pretty wild to think that Brandon Graham was drafted in 2010 when Andy Reid was still the coach of the Eagles. Jason Kelce was drafted in 2011, and they've gone through so many highs and lows with this organization. They've seen a lot of wins. They've seen crushing defeats. They've seen some fantastic seasons. They've seen some awful seasons. And, of course, they were a part of the Super Bowl 52 team. I think that with so much change that is happening with this team right now, it's important to maintain some of that really crucial locker room structure by continuing to hold on to guys like Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, and Jason Kelce, because there's going to be a lot of new faces on this team in 2023, but some familiar faces as well. As far as Brett Toth, strictly going to be offensive line depth for this team. They released him last week, decided to bring him back. I imagine he's going to be battling for a 53-man roster spot. And Rashaad Penny, the guy who is really the topic of conversation over the last hour or so. It's a fascinating deal for a couple of reasons because he's been injured so much. But when on the field, he has been highly productive. Interested to see what the deal for Rashaad Penny is going to be. I can't imagine that because he's been out so often, it's going to be for that much money. As for some of the Eagles who are departing, Eagles losing 2 starting linebackers. Yesterday, TJ Edwards signed with the Chicago Bears, $12 million in guaranteed money. Now it's Kaiser White, following defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon to the Arizona Cardinals and cashing in for more money than what he made last year. It is a 2-year, $11 million deal for Kaiser White. Up to this point, how do you think that Howie Roseman and this front office are faring? Grade the Eagles' free agency period so far from 1 to 100. 1, awful. 100, very good. I took the Twitter moments ago to say this. The 2 teams that appeared in the NFC Championship game, San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe as of right now are considerably worse than they were last year. And one of the dangerous teams in the NFC that's on the rise, an organization like the Detroit Lions. I have not said that often in my 31 years of existence. The good news for the Eagles, plenty of time left, some really good players still left on the open market. Can they bring back James Bradbury and or C.J. Gardner-Johnson? That will really aid some of the concerns and worries that a lot of people do have. But as of right now, it's been somewhat underwhelming for the Philadelphia Eagles.